So today we're going to talk about what held black men back. This might seem contentious, but it's not. Black men were desocialized through murder, incarceration, and economic sabotage, right? Three major ways that black men were targeted. For learning how to read, right? Enslaved black men were specifically targeted for literary suppression, right? Because literacy meant power. Slave owners and later Jim Crow enforcers knew that an educated black man was more likely to rebel, organize, and demand rights, right? Punishment for literacy usually meant public execution for the man and harsh physical punishment for the woman. I want this to stay with you. Harsh physical punishment for the woman and public execution for the man. This is deeply relevant, right? Land was also the number one way to build wealth for a black man, right? Every time that black men started accumulating it, white supremacists burned them out, lynched them, or enacted racist policies to take it. Tulsa, Rosewood, and Forsyth County were all examples of black men specifically targeted for their property ownership and wealth building, right? Owning a business was also a threat, right? So black business owners were attacked, their businesses were looted, right? Their wealth was seized through legal and illegal means. Right, the GI Bill excluded black men, keeping them out of business grants and home ownership programs. The result is that black men were repeatedly reset every time they tried to rise economically, right? But let's talk about the modern effects. This is actually how the education and employment gap happened. So black women became the most educated group, right? Because education was the safest path to mobility. That was it. Owning a business was more dangerous than becoming educated. That's all it was. And for a man, that was the expected thing, to go own a business, to go start a business, to go try to build something, because you were the only one who could own a business for the family, right? And then you were blown up for it. It was just the safest way, right? Like that's really all that happened. Businesses and land were high risk for black men, and that was our primary ways of building wealth. Right? The civil rights era policies like affirmative action in Title IX opened the door for black women in education, right? Because white America was more comfortable uplifting black women than black men who were seen as the bigger threat, right? Black men were systemically disadvantaged because of higher incarceration rates, less access to education and stable jobs, right? That's 2 and 2. Lower life expectancy due to violence and stress. School to prison pipeline that disproportionately targeted black boys, pushing them out of education, right? Because education was the safest way forward. When they couldn't kill black boys in public, they had to keep them out of school, right? So discrimination in hiring and wage gaps kept black men from advancing in careers. The result is that black men were systematically locked out of education and white collar jobs, while black women had a slightly easier but still difficult path solely in this area. That is the only reason why we have an education gap. Okay? And now let's get into this population scar, because this is more important. And this is actually the current state of our people, and I want you to hear this. The demographic ratio of black men to black women has been changed due to this. Okay? For every 100,000 black men, 2,200 of them are incarcerated, right? Okay, so black men make up 34% of the United States prison population, but only 6%, right, of the general United States population. So for every 100 black men in America, for every 100 black women in America, there are only 83 free black men. That's it. That's how serious it is. Okay, if you want to know where the black guys at, why we haven't shown up, it's because we're dead. Right? My brethren are dead, or they're in jail, right? Or they've been desocialized, right? The black male incarceration rate is 5 to 6 times higher than white men, right? Black women in the United States, are just talking about the population, 22.5 million. The black male population is 20.1, 2 million people. But even fewer are available, right, due to incarceration and early death. For every 100 black women, there's only about 90 black men, right? In cities with high incarceration rates, this ratio drops to 80 black men per 100. We're gone. We're not there because we're either dead or in jail. 2 out of 10 of us are not here, right? Like it's not even just a gap; it's a population gap. Like it's a population gap. There's just less black men around. If you've ever wondered why you have not seen them, or why it might just look like there's just more, because there is. There's more white men to choose from. So the black dating pool was already smaller for women. due to incarceration, early death, and economic instability. Fewer black men means pressure on the ones that are free and economically stable. This widens the dating and economic gap between black men and women, right? So black men aren't just falling behind. They were deliberately desocialized through murder, incarceration, and economic exclusion. Black women were not just working harder. They were getting a slightly more acceptable path, while black men were shut out. Okay, acceptable. Not sustainable, not safe. It was the safer, right? It was the acceptable path, right? Okay, and then we need to stop talking like black men don't want to work, right? Or black men or black women are just leaving black men behind, but instead focus on the generational violence and the fact that our people are dead, right? And the discrimination that caused this gap. Black men are not just lazy or failing; they were being murdered for success.